YouTube channel. I am Jen. I'm here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So I don't do this too often, but every once in a while, I read stuff in the scriptures, or I study stuff and I write stuff, and it's something I've pondered on and I understand in a way where I feel like sharing. And so today's going to be Repeat Thursday. So what I'm going to read today, I read yesterday, and when I looked up into the world around me, I kind of clearly understood. Like, there's almost nothing else that needs to be shared and repeated to people all over the place today about the reflection of the Old Testament and the beginning of times and everything God has been saying from the beginning about believing in Him, having faith, and on truth. Now, because I was raised in the JW religion, I also have my New World Translation, and of course, I know how to translate where the name of Jehovah should be in the King James Bible, and where Jesus' name should be as Lord. Therefore, I can enjoy reading the translation that's been done by Joseph Smith, whose good life and conversion I've experienced in my life, that I know I've been anointed and I know I have the gift of the Holy Spirit with me in the Melchizedek priesthood, not only because I'm single, but because the priesthood runs in my actual family. My grandmother's sister, Pearl, her husband was a priest, it was Anglican or whatever. So, like, I come from the line of Judah, which is like the fourth son from Leah in the line of Jacob. Like, I come from the 12 tribes, and the New Westminster Abbey actually knows where my family comes from. They have a history that goes all the way back to 1600s. We're related to the Queen's family. Like, it's so cool that I have that kind of current information, but it's not listed in the Bible that way. However, I have read things where I'm fairly certain that God was preparing the way and likened his thoughts to that daughter coming. I think in the Bible, I can even prove that he knew what week I'd be born, but couldn't pick the day, right? So I like to read the Old Testament and reflect on the world today based on the information from the Old Testament. I think in my ministry work or whatever it is I do in my writing, I want to focus on the Old Testament and on Jehovah, because there was no Jesus on earth. He had not come yet. There was no discrepancies or confusion about who is in charge of the world, who created the world, and who God was, because there weren't two of them. And that obviously the adversary, the devil, is not a God, and he's not that God, and that he's the father of lies, and that he causes contention and strife and chaos and dismay and disorder. So what I read yesterday is in Jeremiah chapter 7 and chapter 8, which talks about idolatry and false religion and false practices. And it doesn't talk about just anything, but specifically bad, particularly bad stuff. Now, it may not be as gory as I'm going to read here today, but in my view, in what I'm looking at around me, these same things still apply today, and it's still a problem, and it's still being done. He's still using people in this sacrificial way, even if it's not as vile as it was when I saw the burning wood in the fireplace on a Tom Mulling post on his Facebook page, where I had made the comment about, ew, that looks like a burning baby, and he actually had responded back like with a heart, whatever, because he had read the post, but he didn't know why I thought that, why I was seeing that in that way, but he could see the context of how the wood was sitting in the fireplace. And so this is why, because I study the scriptures. I've been, reading this all my life. Now, I love this King James Version, the translation that Joseph did, and I'm sorry it's cost him his life to have produced this. And I'm obsessed with reading it and applying my Jehovah's name in all those places where I know it's correct. And I know it's not Joseph's fault, because at that time in the world, there had only been the English translation of the scriptures from one man in the 15th century who also died. He got hung for it, translating it into English, and that's where the original birth of the King James Bible came from. So later on in history, as we get more modern into the 19th, 20th century, that's when God did something else. Which is why I'm making this, because I want to tie in the beginning, middles, and ends. I want to share the information I know and the research I've done to understand the pockets of information, the gaps that are missing for people in the world, for religions in the world. It's kind of like my knitting. This is going to be a scarf. However, I'm working on a blanket that's going to be in patch quilts, for my daughter to practice knitting, practice different designs, stitches, and put together a whole story. And sort of that's the problem with churches and leaders, is that they get complacent and they don't do any more research. So they don't patch together the missing pieces. And that's what's befallen the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and many of the other Trinity practicing churches and head leaders, as well as the JWs around things like holidays and things like blood transfusions and stuff like that. So on with the show. I'm going to share my scriptures with you guys, starting with Jeremiah chapter 7. Now the little heading says, "If Jerusalem repent, she shall be preserved. The temple has become a den of robbers. The Lord rejects that generation of Jews for their idolatries, and they offer their children in sacrifices." So it's not just about the Jewish people that he saves from Egypt with Moses. It's about the change of practices and the attitudes that they have adopted from the evil environments around them. It's all of those people and the contestable things that they're doing. So it goes on to say, "The word that came to Jeremiah from Jehovah, saying, stand in the gate of Jehovah's house, and proclaim there this word, and say, hear the word of Jehovah, all ye of Judah, that enter in at these gates to worship Jehovah. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, or Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place. Trust ye not in lying words, saying, the temple of Jehovah, the temple of Jehovah, the temple, the Lord, are these. For they think," I'm going to stop here, "that somehow they can do their bad stuff, their ongoing other stuff, and then go to this temple for Jehovah, which he did build in Jerusalem, and think that it's okay, that they have his permission, that they've been wiped clean to go on doing what they're doing." And so the thing about the Lord is Jesus was not there to turn the tables over yet, get mad for God. And so when you use the Lord constantly, you get confused on whether you're talking about the Lord King as King over the earth today with the keys of the last dispensation, which is Jesus, versus Lord and Majesty, which is God, who is like retired, right? But still alive while his son's sort of taken over the kingdom. So I try to reduce the use of the Lord so it's less confusing in the aspect of everybody thinking that it's always talking about Jesus, when we're talking about a time where we're not talking about Jesus here. Okay, "For if ye thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if ye thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if ye oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then will I cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever." So he's saying, don't hurt one another. Don't oppress one another. Right? Don't shed innocent blood. Don't take advantage of the widow. And then I will help you, right? To his people. Don't be influenced by the negativity. "Behold, ye trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will ye steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, and walk after other gods, whom ye know not? And come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, we are delivered to do all these abominations," right? Like I just explained to you guys. "Is this house, which is called by my name, become a den of robbers in your eyes? Behold, even I have seen it, saith the Lord." In this case, you can say that about Jehovah, saith the Lord, because you understand we're talking about Jehovah, because that's what the temple was built for. That's who it was named after. "Now, but go ye now unto my place, which was in Shiloh, where I set my name at the first, and see what I did to it, for the wickedness of my people Israel. And now, because ye have done all these works, saith Jehovah, and I spake unto you, rising up early and speaking, but ye heard not, and I called you, but ye answered not. Therefore will I do unto this house, which is called by my name, wherein ye trust, and unto the place which I gave to you and to your fathers, as I have done to Shiloh. And I will cast you out of my sight, as I have cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim. Therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear thee. And so all the way through this, like a father disciplining their kids, if you're going to be disobedient, he's going to continue to discipline you, and the punishment might even get worse, right? So from that time to now, if nothing is working, then you're not going to get blessed. It's not going to change. Things aren't going to improve. He's not going to love you more and do more for you when you're refusing the advice, the truth, and make any adaptations and applying all of this wisdom from him to you. Seest thou not what they do in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. Do they provoke me to anger? Because God is not quick to get angry. He doesn't just jump and respond like we do as humans, because he's not human. So he therefore doesn't think and act like humans. So he's asking the question, do they provoke me to anger, saith Jehovah, or the Lord? Do they not provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces? So this is a really good Jesus attitude. This is where you know they're like in unison in behavior, but this is how Jesus would think and talk, right? Do they not provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces? So they're looking at themselves in the mirror every day, doing all this stuff wrong. And so he's like, tell me that they don't just look at themselves confused, that they're confusing themselves by all this wrongdoing, right? So he's turned the table around. Of course, it doesn't make me angry. It's not going to provoke me to do anything, because I'm not doing anything wrong, and I don't have to look at myself and see what I'm doing wrong, or see that what I'm doing is wrong. Good save there. It's good point. Just amusing sense of humor. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, so Jehovah speaking, behold, mine anger and my fury shall be poured out upon this place, upon man and upon beast, and upon the trees of the field, and upon the fruit of the ground, and it shall burn and shall not be quenched. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel. So thus saith Jehovah, the God of Israel, put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices, and eat flesh. So he's cursing them with their cannibalistic lifestyles and behaviors and beatitudes already. Just keep doing what you're doing. I won't take that away. Just let that be your curse. For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt concerning burnt offerings of sacrifices. As in, he never said that anything so disgusting and vile was a righteous thing or a good idea. But this thing commanded I them, saying, obey my voice, and I will be your God, and ye shall be my people. And walk ye in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you. But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels and the imaginations of their evil heart, and went backward and not forward. And so if you guys heard me yesterday at the library on the computer, and I'm complaining about the Word documents and the Microsoft computers and everything, about me being in the clouds, Google, Chrome Plus, like, that is me living in a world where everybody's moving forward, going backwards, and I have moved forward, and it's hard for me to function or exist when everybody's fallen behind, fallen into this bad cycle of mundane established way that should be changed. We should be looking at changing. But it only changed when it gets so bad that it's affecting everybody. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, now we have to do something. So I have to use library computers because I refuse to buy the old stuff, the outdated stuff, the backwards stuff that's no good at a prices that they shouldn't be charging for it. So in order to have a desktop at home and have an office at home. But that's what I'm saying I'm living in. I see every day. I'm looking at the fact that I'm going forward backwards. And that's the point of the publishing company. That's the point of the script they sent me, the hack job, is that's them trying to make a living moving forward, doing it backwards in outdated systems and programs. I can't function in that, and I can't trust my work to people who behave and act and do things like that ever again. So back to Jeremiah 25 in chapter 10. Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day, I have even sent unto you all my servants and prophets daily, rising up early and sending them. So from that time till now, Jehovah God has used missionaries. He has used pioneers. He has used those he's ordained in lay ministry, priesthood positions, so on. They go out into the streets. They travel from town to town. They knock on doors. They give out food, clothes. They do all sorts of things to incline your ear to listen and to share information with everyone. And yet, in all of this time, in chapter 26, in verse 26, he says, yet they hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers. So then the generations got worse. But I just finished listening in Genesis about the story of the Jacob and the 12 tribes, the sons and Joseph in Egypt under Pharaoh rule. And I had just finished asking God, wondering, was that Pharaoh like the nicest Pharaoh of all the pharaohs in the history in the Bible that I've known of? Because he was so good to Joseph. Like, what's mine is yours except for my position in all of Egypt. And these people were so backwards, they actually thought farmers were something to be allergic to. So they thought sheep herders and those kinds of people that lived off the land, that raised animals and became wealthy from the natural environments that God has blessed us to have access to and use since the creation of earth. They thought it was bad and wrong and detestable, and so they didn't want those people around, so they couldn't live in Egypt in the city with the city people. But this Pharaoh, after learning that Joseph's family during the famine came to Goshen, which is just outside of Egypt. It's a place where people could farm and do their sheep herding and stuff fairly comfortably. And this Pharaoh blessed him. Blessed Joseph, blessed his house. Go ahead and do what you need to do. Your family can live where they need to live and have anything that's the best in that land. And I had to stop to think, like, were they sometimes nicer then than now? Because of that, knowing that law between the Egyptians and the Hebrews and the Jews. Like, there was a law, like literally even in God's world on our side, where you cannot eat with each other. And most of us today who don't actually eat with them in any way, we can feel that difference of like, oh, I've never actually done that. And it feels weird if you're in 7-Eleven and just eating a taquito around people that are just working. So he's saying that in all of this time, nobody's listening, and now it's even worse. So verse 27 says, therefore thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken to thee. Thou shalt also call unto them, but they will not answer thee. But thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God Jehovah, and not receiveth correction. Truth is perished, and it is cut off from their mouth. Cut off thine hair, O Jerusalem, and cast it away, and take up a lamentation on high places, for the Lord hath rejected and forsaken the generation of his wrath. Yesterday night I said to people, I warn you that I'm going to have to cut this hair and it's going to have to grow back from like the buzz cut. That's pretty much the scripture that has let me know that based on all the bad things that have happened to me and for all the decades it's all been happening to me while I still fight and struggle for the success of my career and a peaceful place that I can call home and retire to, that I have to constantly be renewed as an artist. And every once in a while, I have to shed a layer. And generally, that comes with cutting my hair. And when I started getting really bad haircuts, butcher jobs, from graduated students from hairdressing school who clearly should not have been passing, I got that very strong feeling from Jesus. Cut your hair, shave it off, and let it grow back, because it's the only way it's going to get fixed. If you keep paying people for haircuts and they just keep making it worse and it keeps getting shorter, it's just going to look bad. So that's why I warn people now that you'll probably end up seeing me very short hair very soon, because he's right. I'm not going to keep wasting my money on bad haircuts. It really does make you think about the education system. Like, what are you getting for your money? If a person's not good at something, wouldn't it make sense to just fail them or tell them, I'll pass you because you got the homework stuff and the classroom stuff right, but this is not the job for you. Please go find something else to do. Sometimes honesty is the best policy in things like that. Cooking, hairdressing, well, they're just two of the things that you should be honest in that sense. So on with the scriptures. Verse 30. For the children of Judah have done evil in my sight, saith the Lord. We're still talking about Jehovah here, by the way. They have set their abominations in the house which is called by my name, to pollute it. And they have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire which I commanded them. Neither came into my heart. So there it is where I mentioned earlier, where God did not think this or command this. So God did not tell people to burn their sons or their daughters in fires. Right? I didn't command this, and I did not think this. This never came into my heart. So as much as he might not like evil people, he still doesn't tell evil people to do evil things. Right? Because he's God and he's a good God, right? And so the God of love would not tell people to rejoice and celebrate and do things like this. So can you imagine how he's feeling about the life he sends as children that are supposed to be blessings, watching this instead of just serving the real God and enjoying a better life, getting rewards, changes that can actually happen by believing in something that's real versus serving something that isn't. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. For they shall bury in Tophet till there be no place. So basically it becomes like a cemetery, and there's no room left because it's all just plots of dead people, carcasses. And the carcasses of this people shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven and for the beasts of the earth, and none shall fray them away. See, God can be pretty gory at times, man. Right? Nobody made God speak it this way. It's just him doing that, saying this is what I think about what I see, and I want it to be understood this way. I can't imagine walking through a city or community somewhere where it's air, oxygen you're breathing is the stench of rotting corpses. And you have to cover your face just walking through that. And there's just all this death out in the open. It's not even properly buried. And that the wild beasts and the environment around you just come and eat off that. Right? Like, that kind of crime should not be allowed, in the sense that people that do stuff like that should be in prison or have the death sentence. and go on living in the world freely and just keep doing that generation after generation is insane. So, in closing of chapter 7, it goes on to say, "Then will I cause to cease from the cities of Judah and from the streets of Jerusalem the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, for the land shall be desolate." So, in conclusion of chapter 7, my question is, I wonder, how is it possible for there to be so many of these people still on the earth and alive today? How can the population have ended up larger than what was happening back then to control the population that they were doing themselves, right? That God wasn't doing. And yet still it's a flourishing nation in spite of all the wrong. I don't get it. So chapter 8 goes on, and the heading says, "Calamity shall befall the inhabitants of Jerusalem. For them the harvest is past, the summer is ended, and they are not saved." So that brings me to like now, where we are in the world, whereas in a modern day version of Jerusalem is pretty much people that live all over the world, and that we're at the end of our harvest season. And that's the reason for Jesus' return in the second coming, after the dark ages of 2,000 years began to be lifted. And that's the reason I'm doing this lesson, because I want to go beginning, middle, and end here to point out some stuff that I think people have missed or don't know anything about, and will help direct them to go research and learn more to understand about Jesus and his actually being with us in the second coming, having already began, and how to recognize that. "At that time, saith Jehovah, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves. And they shall spread them before the sun and the moon, and all the host of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. They shall not be gathered, nor be buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth. And death shall be chosen rather than life by all the residue of them that remain of this evil family, which remain in all the places whither I have driven them, saith Jehovah, Lord of hosts." So no matter where they've been driven, no matter where they've been spread throughout the earth, these people are going to die. They are going to end up in death with the evil family who have chosen wrong. Their remains will rot and return to the earth after they've passed away from this life. They will not be given life. They will not be resurrected. They will not be in paradise. They will not be going to heaven. They will not meet Jesus Christ. And except for the concept, if Jesus wants to reveal himself to the whole world in a magnificent way that nobody can mistake that it's him. And of course the same as God. But Jesus, I don't think it's going to be so dramatic like that. I think he's just going to pop in and pop out like he already did when he was resurrected. That's more his style. It's Jehovah that's going to be like, boom, hi guys. See, told ya. And everybody's going to be like, oh, God, the true God. Look, truth is upon us. It's going to be a point where the kingdom of heaven will come to earth in a place and in a way that's permanent. It's forever, and establish itself on earth. And that we will clean up the earth together with the kingdom of heaven, with Jesus and his instructions, so that we can create an earthly form of paradise, a peace, an everlasting joy, where we can get rid of all of the bad forever, and it's gone. And God is fair in the sense that he'll let a person live their own natural life, being who they are, not being afraid of who they are, because you can't really be afraid of being yourself, and that the judgments are happening, even if it's in the secret place quietly, and they just live without even knowing that it's happened, and it doesn't matter because they're fine with the judgment they're getting. They're not missing anything, because funerals are for the living. So when a person's passed away, the person that's died doesn't feel anything. So there's no loss there on their part. They're not hurting. So, where did I leave off here? Moreover, thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Lord, shall they fall and not arise? Like I just said. Shall he turn away and not return? So they're not going to come back to life. Why then is this people of Jerusalem slidden back by a perpetual backsliding? Just staying backwards, never ever moving forward, never changing. They hold fast deceit. They refuse to return. I hearkened and heard, but they spake not aright. No man repented him of wickedness, saying, What have I done? Everyone turned to his course, as the horse rusheth into battle. Yea, the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed times, and the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming. But my people know not the judgment of the Lord. They've lost their way and not able to know when the judgment day, the judgment for each of them has come. And it's already begun. It is happening every day. Right? The sun will shine on both good and evil. God will provide for everyone with food and farms, but it doesn't change that in the end times of Armageddon, which is a time on earth, not a place, that there will be sufferings. Things are going to be difficult. There could be stock crashes, and there could be food crises and other things that will still happen, that people are going to see that only through God's intervention in helping us can these problems be solved. And those who listen to him won't have to worry, because they will be fine taking care of themselves and know how to take care of themselves. How do you say, we are wise, and the law of the Lord is with us? Lo, certainly in vain made he it. The pen of the scribes is in vain. The wise men are ashamed. They are dismayed and taken. Lo, they have rejected the word of the Lord. So they have rejected the word of truth from Jehovah. And what wisdom is in them if they don't have truth? And that's a problem with all the heads of the churches and ministers everywhere. What good is it if you don't have truth? Verse 10, Therefore will I give their wives unto others, and their fields to them that shall inherit them. For everyone from the least even unto the greatest is given to covetousness. From the prophet even unto the priest, everyone dealeth falsely. Apostasy is everywhere. For they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly, saying, Peace, peace, when there is no peace. Were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? Nay, they were not at all ashamed, neither could they blush. Therefore shall they fall among them that fall. In the time of their visitation they shall be cast down, saith the Lord. That I don't feel rejoicing or peace when I see eggs on sale for $7.25 for 12, and I go to the corner store and a jug of milk is $8, and I know that eggs should only be a maximum of $4, and milk shouldn't be any more than $4. That's a problem, right? An all-for-profit system based on using vehicles, driving, and gas, not using carts and horses or bulls and ox and going slow and going back to door-to-door delivery, or using farmers to take care of local populations of people that their farm sizes can handle, so things can be affordable for everyone. It's just ridiculous. And so I don't think it's a good idea for people to get married and celebrate and have children and raise kids in this system. In spite of how sunny it might look outside in the blue sky and how secure people might feel on a good day, it's not a good day. It's just the world moving forward day by day in the time frame and the plans that God has. And so be wary, right? It's not a good time. It's too expensive. Things have doubled from the prices they should be from the time I was a kid in just the last 15 years, because of the conversation I'm having with everybody from Jeremiah chapter 7 and 8. Going on to verse 13, it says, I will surely consume them, saith Jehovah. There shall be no grapes on the vine, no figs on the fig tree, and the leaf shall fade, and the things that I have given them shall pass away from them. Right? If you don't serve God and do what's right, you're not going to be able to receive his blessings and enjoy things from his blessings. And moving around the world to take advantage of all there is that is lots what there's lots of for the good people, for the righteous, isn't going to remain in place just because you've moved there. That's just going to cause problems. It's going to spread throughout the land. Why do we sit still? Assemble yourselves and let us enter into the defenced cities, and let us be silent there. For the Lord our God, Jehovah, hath put us to silence, and given us water of gall to drink, because we have sinned against the Lord, against our God. We looked for peace, but no good came, and for a time of health, and behold, trouble. The snorting of his horses was heard from Dan. I miss horses, man. The sound of their hoofs, the little carts on the streets, it's beautiful. It's like music, earth song. It's also romantic, right? We don't need to hurry up. We're not going anywhere. We're not getting off this earth. Eternity's forever. God is forever. He's the never-ending story. He is the nothing, right? The world was nothing, and he was there. He was in the land of nothing. The land of nothing was, right? So you know who wrote that story. You know who's in charge of that. You know who would be that again if he snuffed it all out. We looked for peace, but no good came. Oh, yeah, I read that one. For a time of health, and behold, trouble. The snorting of his horses was heard from Dan. The whole land trembled at the sound of the neighing of his strong ones. For they are come and have devoured the land, and all that is in it, the city, and those that dwell therein. For behold, I will send serpents, cockatrices among you, which will not be charmed, and they shall bite you, saith the Lord. When I would comfort myself against sorrow, my heart is faint in me. I cuddle under the blankets. I have this blanket thing from the time I was a baby, and I have a stuffy thing. I comfort myself. I have not had a lot of physical companionship or comfort in a healthy love sort of way. I have chemical imbalance. I take medications to help because of the lack of the chemical of love itself. Now, in the scriptures, we're talking about Paul's problem, which we don't get into specifically, but I think some of us can guess what that thorn in his side was. And God's like, hey, man, do what you got to do. It's your situation. It's your nature. You're a man. You figure it out. But it says where God says, constantly, my love is sufficient for you. And as human beings, specifically as women, as nurturers, caregivers, it's not enough to just be loved by God, led by God. When you're traumatized, when you see all kinds of bad things, when all kinds of bad things are happening to you on top of all the bad things you're seeing, and your head is being filled with all this spiritual information, God is teaching you, raising you up. You get to a point where you will crumble and break, fall apart, and do things to run away from it, to numb the pain if God doesn't give you love. And so for me, that was drugs, streets. I'm never really an alcoholic. I partied a lot, went to raves, and did all that recreational fun stuff. And now I'm old, and all I want to do is own a house and learn to knit and write books and teach people stuff. And when I started restudying my scriptures again, changed everything. And now I understand it in a way, like a discernment way, where I can look around me and see what people are not seeing and hear what people are not hearing, and hope that maybe by sharing this stuff sometimes that it might help people see it and hear it better, like I do, which has changed my life permanently. But I still need love. And so I will continue doing this in sharing my love to you, pouring myself out as a drink offering for all of you, and sharing my worry and concerns for all of you, and hope that it blesses other people. And in turn, maybe it will lead me into the right path to find the kind of Christ-centered home and friends and family like love that I need for my life, so that I can sustain life and have a will and desire to, do another 10, 15, 20 years of this. So back to this ending of chapter 8. Behold, the voice of the cry of the daughter of my people, because of them that dwell in a far country. Is not the Lord in Zion? Is not her king in her? Why have they provoked me to anger with their graven images and with strange vanities? The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. So don't ever think for a minute that God loves the entire world and everyone in it, and that everyone is saved. It's simply not true. Does he love people? Does he love humans? Does he love his greatest creation ever? The earth and everything he's made in here, in this world? Yes. But on an individual level, each person will be judged accordingly and will get what he warrants that they should have, as a good parent would do, disciplining their children to want to get the best for them that they can have out of all the good that they've learned from him as a father, that they apply in their lives to do. And so he explains it this way. For the hurt of the daughter of my people am I hurt. I am black. Astonishment hath taken hold on me. And for this reason from God, I love him. For the way I love black people. I love that version of the blackness that he's talking about. I am black. And I totally get why he created such beautiful people. And their culture and their differences, because he wants to divide himself so much from Cain in the beginning and the sin from the Garden of Eden and the devil in between to where we are now. So he did that in the middle and created such a beautiful nation of people in certain places, the certain variations of their culture, just dynamite, diehard. It's like princess and prince of the royal side of white, same thing for them. Just stunning beauty, stunning princes and princesses in their own right, and deserving their own crowns. So in that way, I understand him saying, I am black. Astonishment hath taken hold on me. Right? I detest you so much, and I've run opposite. I'm far away from you as I can get. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then is not the health of the daughter of my people recovered? And I take that personally, because I'm not recovered. I'm not well in that sense of, will I ever be? Because when you get abused and traumatized, there's no full recovery. You can't get over it. Just like eating disorders. If you have anorexia nervosa, if you've been to treatment and you've eaten enough food to get well enough to gain enough weight to go home, you still have to eat food the rest of your life. Often these girls will recover enough to eat enough food to go home, but they spend their whole lives being food counselors. They get education in eating disorders, and they work around and in these places all of their lives, because there is nothing else they can do because of their eating disorder. Right? Because they have to be reminded every single day that they have to continue to eat and have to eat a certain amount of food to keep at bay the hunger pains of the degree of sickness in which they had. Because your body never heals. You don't recover. It remembers, like muscle memory, of the depth of your hunger, the depth of your disease, the state of the condition you had. And so there's no healing from that. And in the history that I was just studying and listening to today, from the line of Jacob, which is why I was listening to it. It was about the 7 years of famine, and people selling all their goods. First, they gave away all their money for the food that Joseph gave everybody. Then they had no more money, and then they came whining, why should we die because we have no money? So then he said, oh, give me your livestock. So they gave all the livestock over, and then they come back again and say, oh, why should we die because we don't have livestock? And then he's like, okay, well, I'll give you seed to grow on your farmland, and you give a fifth of it to the Pharaoh. And if you look at the world today when it comes to farms and how much they give out at cost, that system that was created from that 7-year famine is still in place today. Only today there's no pharaohs, and the pharaohs doesn't own and operate all the farmlands, right? But the governments and the dollars, the money we serve and the faces on the money, that takes the place. So all the farms are generating a certain amount of produce, of whatever it is they're doing, and there's a certain amount of that that has to go to pay for the bills, right? The cost of running their farms. And I had to giggle to this day that setup is still how we do things. And I'm realizing that in today's world, we don't have to do that in the 21st century. We don't need to be in that system anymore. And people don't want to apply the availabilities of the changes and the upgrades that we can have. There's a few that have done it. There are a few farms that are completely solar powered and environmentally friendly, and that's awesome. And there are other potentials of greenhouse gardens, indoor greenhouses you could have as big as football fields, and they can operate all year round. And the soil outside on the earth that is depleted from the fuel fossils that has been generating food for years and years and years, that's had no rest, could then rest. And the world can then generate fuel fossils, replenish the earth, and trees can eat, and all that stuff, the worms and the birds and the butterflies and the crickets and the frogs, and all that stuff can do its thing that nature needs to do, so that there's still a nature here for us to live on and enjoy life in. And we're not listening. And so that's how you know that God, at some point, when he's like, okay, there's no more clean water left and all the fish are almost gone, I better do something, is coming. All right? And I don't want it to see that. I don't want to see the world get to that point before something's done. So it's hard for me to feel well or recovered. I can't do a lot of rejoicing and relax and have my shoulders down. For me, life is just about living through each day, trying to find the little moments of joy per day that I can find to get through that day. So by going to work, doing my support work, by learning to do this knitting stuff, and skating to do my skate support programs and stuff, and of course my daily scriptures, and every once in a while sharing stuff with you. So what I'm saying is it's really important to remember to slow down and meditate and think upon everything you're reading, and look in the world today to see how much of what you've read from that past time in the Bible to today, and how it still applies in the world today, right? And I pray for all of you for having a good weekend ahead, and that some of this might help some of you, and that you will look up Jeremiah chapter 7 and 8 and read through it thoroughly like I did yesterday and today, and repeat Thursday. Maybe I'll make this a regular thing. See what I come up with next Thursday, to share with all of you. And that together we'll be out there trying to make sure we follow the Lord's signs and direction to keep us above all the hurdles, keep us ahead, or even, get over hurdles. Because I'm not a hurdle jumper. No, I'd never be able to jump over a 3-foot piece of wood. I would totally knock it down and fall to my knees and hurt something or lots of things on me. So that said, without this, we can overcome anything. God bless you. I hope this makes a difference for you. It's make a difference for me. And today is all about, I don't know, maybe going ice skating at 1 o'clock somewhere at a rink. And then, yeah, just taking the load off. I work tomorrow, and I'm not sure what's happening Saturday. But I hope all of you guys stay tuned for the Smallville movie book 1 stuff that I'm going to be doing over that 17, 18-day period. So I have 2 copies of my work, From Perfect to More Perfect, and the 2 copies from Their Hack Job to yesterday's Librarian Smart Girl. I heard what you said. Oh, maybe it was this they did kind of thing. Oh, look at that. It's the hack job. To know when not to pay for something when you can access stuff for free. And yeah, I hope that helps. So that's my spiel. When you're looking out at the world, when you go places and you talk to people, be careful about what you're doing, who you're doing it with, what you're agreeing to. Don't be so susceptible to believing just everything you see here and trying to fit in with everybody, because fitting in is not the way to be. Being accepted and having to be cool when you hit to a certain age is not necessary. Just be yourself. Peace out. Superwoman signing out. I'm very good there. Okay, bye.